This is a 200-year-old log cabin. I realize it doesn't look like your typical 200-year-old log cabin, but don't be fooled by the 20th century siding hiding this 19th century home made from 18th century trees. Believe it or not, this is one of the oldest surviving structures in all of St. Louis County, built just 8 years after and 5 miles away from the Thomas Sappington house of 1808 by his cousin Joseph Sappington. Buried by time and thick brush right in the middle of your typical 1950s suburban neighborhood, it was virtually forgotten history until very recent years when it emerged from reclusive residency and ownership. The sacrilegious siding, expansions, and additions of numerous modern luxuries, such as plumbing and electricity, likely contributed to its preservation. While some parts of this home's ownership timeline is likely lost to history, we have some clues to its tenure, with more puzzle pieces still currently being unearthed from a variety of sources. In November 2021, I was privileged with an invite to a pre-dismantling photo opportunity and allowed to document the near-original state of the house in video. The Sappington Historical Society, currently helmed by a direct descendant and a few dedicated volunteers, have taken it upon themselves to preserve and move the precious cabin and plunk it right next to its family brethren estate in Crestwood off the aptly named Sappington Road, with the help of public and private funding, as well as the services of Mark Pratt of Antique Logs Unlimited. Mark has decades of experience with this sort of thing, with many such projects past and present all over the state. Basically, he is the guy to call in these parts for all your antique log cabin restoration and logistic needs. This film will take a final tour of the cabin before they really started digging in. We'll feature a few words from Mark about it and their plan of attack, as well as another man who spent time here as a kid in the early 1950s when his grandparents lived here.
corner here has gotten some, you can see a little bit of damage here. Yeah. And there's some termite damage down below that was older, that they scabbed in some logs. Yeah. See, they just put in pieces down here to replace stuff that had been damaged by time. When we put it back up, we'll replace those logs with other antique logs, so it doesn't look like the damage was ever there.
That just looks like water infiltration from the end cut, though.
And it may be. Until we really get it in there, we don't know what all is going to be, what we're coming into.
I like this.
I know the application for when it went on the National Register said that there was termite damage, but I don't know, it didn't specify to say where all it was. But it may have been more in the flooring, they may have left the logs alone, you know, I don't know. But there's damage of some type there. You know, it's like, you know, when they notched all the corners on the cabinets, you know, with the saddle notches that are on there. And of course, they use all hand tools and finished them up with a slick, what they call a slick, which is like an overgrown chisel. And I use a chainsaw, which is much easier. So they would have loved to have had a chainsaw, I'm sure. But
wow, it's an incredible job.
it's a great cabin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a magnificent cabin. And the stonework is phenomenal. The stonework and the chimneys
stone.
and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this chimney is absolutely phenomenal. It's just magnificent. It is in great shape. That's one of the things I was mentioning earlier. You know, when I take down a cabin, you know, not a lot of them have stone chimneys in them because a lot of them I take down are out in the woods and stuff like that. But there's no big cracks in it. There's no, you know, it's not pulling away from the cabin.
And you'll knock this down stone by stone.
Stone by stone, yeah.
And then,
Well, number.
and then new, not concrete.
Yeah, it'll be a line. They'll go back to a lime mortar again.
Oh, lime
See, this
mortar.
is a lime mortar that's in here now.
Oh,
And then
the old fashioned good stuff.
Yes. Now in the basement, underneath this, it's been mortared with mud. The base of it has just been mortared with mud. So what we'll do is we'll come in here. We'll number all the hearthstones in the firebox. Now we probably in here, this was thinner stones that were used, and the problem is those are a little on this fireplace are a little on the soft side. They've just been beaten up by the heat over the years. So I may not number those, but I'll number these, I'll number the hearthstones, and I'll number these that are visible up to here. And those will be put on separate pallets. And then then we'll stop when we're taking the chimneys down, we'll start from the top, and the stones will pry up, and we'll start numbering those pallets. So 1 to 29, or however many pallets it's going to take per chimney, all the way down, so that when the stonemason starts putting it back together then he's got the firebox to start with, and then he can start with number 29 and start working his way back up again.
So I have a question. How do you get the mortar of the chimney, whichever, out without damaging the stones?
The logs is easy. It'll come apart. Now, down here, because it was rewired, and you can see on the back of this, over here, when they rewired it, there's a wire mesh in here. You can see a little bit of the wire mesh right here.
Oh, I
also.
see. Yeah. I
So
understand what you're talking
so that is probably nailed into the logs. We'll just have to just pry it off, and it'll go into a dumpster. Is where it's
Right,
gonna go.
on these stones.
Now
how
on the
about the
stones
stones?
here, they'll pry apart with a pry bar starting from the top.
Starting at the top.
We just get a pry bar into the edge and just start working them up.
And that's gonna be more open, and it's gonna be like
Watch your
a
head.
freestanding fireplace.
Even sure people would have trouble with this.
Okay, so they're gonna go down to the basement, and there's some logs down there that still have the bark on them. And this right here is the kitchen, so this is coming out. So it's the kitchen, and
So these are the original sleepers here, which is what we call floor joists. Log people have their own vocabulary for everything. So new construction, they talk about a top plate and And we talk about cap logs and stuff like that. So down here, new people call them floor joists. We call them sill plates or sill logs. They had access back in there for, they ran heating and air vents in there, and that reaches back to the addition that's on the back. So this is under the, as you walk in the front door, to be right here, then this is under the, I'll say that main room pin. Then the pin that's on the right, this is here. Now they skinned the bark off the logs there, but they left them on here. And more than likely, because they probably didn't use this room at all, at some point it was dug out later to accommodate hot water heater, furnace, needed access for venting, for heating and air. And of course the original vacuum system.
They had a vacuum system?
They had a
here?
central vacuum system here, a beam vacuum
You're
system.
kidding.
Yeah.
I've rarely seen those things, and certainly not in a log cabin.
Not in the log, I think this is the first log cabin I've taken down that had
Good
a
Lord.
vacuum,
That's
had a
crazy.
beam vacuum system in it. But one of the things that I'll mention today is that these sleeper logs would have sat on top of the sill log, which had been the bottom log sitting on the foundation. And although we can't see it here because of all the stuff that's in the way, once we uncover this, then we'll be able to see how they did that. Now, so essentially the floor was between the first and second logs, because you had the first log that was laid on the wall, and then these were laid on top of it, and then the flooring was on top of that. When we put the cabin back up, one of the things that I like to do is to create more space on the first floor. So what we're going to do is we will hang the floor system underneath the walls. So now the floors are going to be moved from between logs 1 and 2 to now underneath the sill log. So that'll give us more headroom without doing any other modifications.
Is there enough headroom already? Or?
It's okay, but we're just going to add a little bit more to make it easier, because otherwise this is essentially lost space.
Oh, you're talking about down here.
Well,
Or
on the first floor, it will create, because right now we're going to move the floor level from between logs 1 and 2 on the walls to now underneath the bottom log. So it's going to gain us another foot or so of headspace on the first floor, which is, it's just kind of a nice thing to have. Most cabins were shorter,
Right.
and so I kind of got into a habit of doing that just to make it more convenient for folks, since we're a little bit taller than the way we used to be. But we've already cut out, there was this, you could not walk very easily down here because there was all kinds of ducting and stuff hanging down. There were shelves over there. We haven't gotten these shelves out yet. Near as I can tell, the original basement floor came down to this level right here. And at some point they decided they needed more space, whether they were putting jelly jars down here or whether they needed more space to walk around.
You wouldn't be able to walk around it.
No. So they dug down. So typically when they do that, they'll pour a rough concrete surface here, and then they'll just dig down into the dirt. And so I think they just dug down and hauled everything out a bucket at a time, and then they just laid concrete block down for this. So
Yeah, the concrete block is remarkably smooth.
it was done probably in the 20th century,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe the 1930s or something like that they would have done that.
Yeah. How
But-
long has this concrete block been around?
Yeah, we'll have to, once we start
20 and 30.
you know, getting a crowbar under and digging it up. There was at one time a door, as you can see here, that I believe went out through the front porch.
So you think there was a bifold door up there?
There may well have been, yeah. But there's a door open here, and I have not opened this up to see what's on the other side. You know, Jimmy Hoffa could be on the other side for all I know. But, so he'd be glad to get out of there.
Yeah.
But my guess is it went up onto the porch, and there was probably a set of steps that went up to the porch at one time. But once we get this apart, then we'll see what was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the foundation wants to just have a full basement, a full real basement underneath of it at the new location. which will give them additional storage space for a number of items that they have in their inventory.
So there's gonna be a concrete foundation presumably underneath all of this?
Yes, when in the new location, we'll put a concrete foundation to support the cabin and the fireplace chimneys and everything else, so.
Who's, as I intimated yesterday, who's doing all the drawings for that?
Well, we've got the study from Case Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
We have that. In fact, Charlie Hinkie was here earlier today. And then we'll just, for the fireplaces, we'll just build off of the foundation.
I overheard this gentleman recounting his days here, so naturally like a moth, I had to catch some of that. The editing and sound in this final segment gets pretty rough, as this was an open house event and other interested folks kept him repeating and starting his tale over, while I fought technical equipment issues in the general chaos. I did the best I could with the results. Thank you for watching.
This was my mother's childhood home. Yeah, it just brings memories. I know that Mom and her brothers and sisters, there was 2 boys and 2 girls, and Grandpa and Grandma were truck gardeners, truck farmers. Strawberries in the springtime. He put 10,000 tomato plants on sticks every summer, and this is just. Of course, it's changed a lot since the new owners have stripped the plasterboard off and opened up the logs. This area you're standing in here was added on later, but this bathroom here, his 2 sons put this bathroom in because of Grandpa's illness. He had esophageal cancer and died in 1952. And so, yeah, it looks different, but I was only 10 or 12 years old at the time. 12 years old, that's the last time I've been here. And I'm 80 now, so just had to come by and see. This all was added on here. And the 2 doors on the living room side were added in later.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. That was not what I was trying to do.
Yeah, this was their bedroom. I still have Grandma's dresser that sat right there where the fireplace was. And so it's just brings back a lot of memories. I don't know exactly when they moved, but around 1920 when they moved in here. And I'd say it was in the mid-50s when Grandma left after Grandpa died. There was a massive log barn up the hill for probably 20 to 30 foot long logs that disappeared after it was sold. But we as kids and cousins would romp around here and play and have a really, really good time. And when we would spend the night upstairs, there was a full feather bed. A feather bed mattress and top cover. So it was interesting times. I'm just glad I got back to see it before it changes. Well, at the other party that bought it, I think the man that bought it was retired from the Globe Democrats. And he lived here till he died. And then I seen it probably 3-4 weeks ago, came and took pictures from the outside. And even at that time, it looked like it was move-in ready. So I'm just glad I could see it.
Okay.
And my brother has got some things he's going to donate after it was.
Wonderful.
He's got Grandma's, a little rocking chair of Grandma's. And pictures, he's got a couple of pictures of the way it looked that Mom had hanging in her house. She died 7 years ago at 102. This was the main bedroom right here. Well, I do know one thing, that was Grandpa's smokehouse. And we kids were not allowed to mess with his smokehouse. Unbelievable. He would butcher hogs for the Bush family. And he'd make sausage for the Bush family.
Oh, that's cool.
But Grandpa would love, up at the Rabbi Farmers Club, he would go up there and play on Saturday night as long as somebody kept him a bottle of Falstaff.
Oh,
He'd play all night.
yeah.
On the one end, the far end of it. The mud, you stepped down into it, and it was a dirt floor. I don't know if that's been, the whole total building's been replaced, or if it's just been remodeled. But that was a market shed on one side and a smokehouse on the other. But boy, Grandpa was really, really adamant about activity in his smokehouse. And when he barked, we listened. He kept a truck in there that he went to market with down on the old 3rd Street market that he took his produce to. His car usually stayed parked up above up here. There was a big tree and his car stayed there. But like I said, I was rather young. Some of the highlights I don't remember a lot, but I do remember how the compound was there. It was a big chicken house. It was kind of in a hole. This was all excavated and filled in over the years, I guess, when the property was developed. I had to see it just because I had a lot of good times as a kid here.